Welcome to Preps Plus Extra. We're hitting the road. We're at Arrowhead High School this week in honor of the state championship games. How you doing? I'm Mark Stewart, prep editor of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Joining us in Lake Country territory is sports editor of Now Newspapers, J.R. Radcliffe. How you doing this afternoon?
Doing good. Really excited. We've got a nice set of state championship games ahead of us Thursday and Friday. A lot of local teams playing on Friday at Camp Randall in Madison. We'll be there.
Yes, we will. And for the second straight year, we've got three area teams in the finals. The only difference this time is that we've got two of them in Division I and we've got another in Division III. And let's start with Division III. Greendale is the only team in the area that has a chance to finish the year with an undefeated record. They face Monona Grove at 10 a.m. Nice, bright and early kickoff time at Camp Randall Stadium. Just your thoughts on, maybe it's probably no surprise to some of us that Greendale has gotten this far.
Yeah, and it hasn't been a surprise to me. I was interested to see them against Appleton Xavier last week, one of the best passing offenses in the state. And I know their quarterback, Matt Ferris, was injured and kind of in and out of that game a little bit. But I thought that might be a really good test for any team, but definitely for a team from outside. They're from different areas in the state, so Greendale hadn't seen anything like Appleton Xavier before, and Greendale was able to generate plenty of offense to win that matchup. So I'm so impressed with their offense. Josh Ringelberg is one of the best quarterbacks in the area, just a junior, dual threat. He's going to run the ball as much as he's going to throw it. He's got a great receiving core to throw the ball to. They have other guys who can run the ball, and they got a good offensive line, and their defense has shown over the course of the year that they can step up when called upon as well. So they are clearly one of the best teams in the state. We've known that from the beginning of the year when they beat Franklin, another state finalist, in week 2, and beat them pretty handily. They go in against an undefeated Monona Grove team, also one of the best programs in the state. We're talking about a really good matchup in Division III.
And like Coach Rob Stoltz often likes to say about his team, he likes to say we have a lot of playmakers, and I think what we saw in the Xavier game was, on the defensive side of the ball, they have, some guys. Sue Mitchell Breeze is a defensive back and a receiver. Gets more attention as a receiver, obviously, but is a guy that Coach Stoltz talks about being one of the best he's coached. And, that was Xavier team is a team that, they throw the ball. So it's kind of a different look. And it was a nice test to, for them going into the state championship games where, really, as I look at Greendale, you wonder, could this be the best team in the area? I don't want to, sound sacrilegious in Arrowhead territory, but the resume they put together this year, would maybe give them a good argument to say, hey, maybe we should have been the number 1 ranked team as opposed to a Homestead or Arrowhead was ranked number 1 earlier in the year. So, an interesting thought there.
I think it would be a compelling matchup. I still think Arrowhead's numbers, you look at their size now. Then again, there's a Division I team in the state championship game in Franklin that Greendale beat pretty good this year. So maybe Greendale against Homestead and Arrowhead would be an interesting matchup. Unquestionably, though, Greendale, for schools its size, is the best in the area and probably the best in the state. They can at least prove that when they go up against Monona Grove. Definitely calls to mind for me. I covered them in 2006 when they were in the state final. They lost to Wapaka in a it's 7-3 game, so it wasn't as entertaining as a high-powered offense game would be, but a very competitive game. And then following them was the last time Franklin was in the state championship. They faced off with Brookfield Central in probably the most entertaining Division II game I'll ever see. An overtime game that came down to the wire. It was crazy. So now both of those teams are back for the first time since then. So I've definitely a lot of good memories. And Greendale, of course, hopes this time around it's a little bit different.
Right. Yeah. Maybe after these games are over, the one man who maybe would be able to answer that question, assuming Franklin doesn't win on Friday, would be, Coach Lewis Brown, who would have faced Arrowhead and Greendale in terms of who would be the better team. But speaking of Coach Lewis Brown, we've got him and quarterback Sean McGuire of Franklin talking about their victory last week as well as moving on to the state final.
I think we matched up real well. We're pretty good against a run team, and I've said that all along. And I don't know that they've seen a passing game that quite like we have. And it was just a great matchup. It's probably like Greendale and us earlier in the season where they matched up well against us and beat us. Now, sometimes it comes down to matchups, and I think it was a good matchup and showed on the field. 28 seniors, that's huge. We've never had over 20 seniors in all my years at Franklin. That's 21 years. Just a special group. They get it done in the classroom. They get it done in the practice field. They're very supportive of the younger kids. Just a great group of kids. I couldn't be prouder of them.
We're a smash mouth team on defense and offense. When we run the ball hard. We're not going to dance around out there. We're just going to stick it up in there. And we took it personal this week, and we came to play. Like I said up front, we got down to business, and we were rough and tough out there. It was good.
So yeah, we started talking a little bit about Franklin. Franklin really took it to McGuanago last week. Maybe surprisingly, I wasn't surprised they won, but the manner in which they beat McGuanago was quite impressive. Your thoughts on the Sabres?
Yeah, definitely surprised that went to a running clock. I thought McGuanago would hold their own. I thought it would be as good a matchup as we had in the playoffs, and it just wasn't. Franklin was clearly better. They've really shown on the defensive side of the ball what they're capable of. Everybody knows they can throw the ball with Sean McGuire, Western Illinois recruit. They've got great receivers. Nick Plath, Austin Meyer jump to mind in that department. They've got a running back in Chad Walton, and we saw a story on him in the Journal-Sentinel this week about his revival from injury to be a huge element to their offense. But defensively, they've been pretty good too. They've really stood their ground and matched up with some very impressive offenses. I think of Jared Caro in the secondary, Jake Fernandez up front, August Beck. They've got Eric Wimmer, a lot of big-time guys who can make plays in the defense, and that's something I remember from the last time they went to state. They had a lot of just ball-hawking, talented kids on the defense, and even though the offense was where they made their money, they still were able to really make plays, and that's exactly what's gotten them to this point.
Yeah, as you talk about that, I'm thinking about Arrowhead, and they're almost reverse. I mean, the defense is the unit that's kind of gotten all the accolades and all the attention, and the offense is kind of really steadily kind of come along as this season has wore on. I mean, in the playoffs, I believe they scored 36 points in their last 3 games. Yeah. They got a sophomore, but they lost. Well, they had been rotating quarterbacks. Blake Milkey and Johnny Duranzo had been splitting time, but then Milkey got injured and has been out for the last 3 games. And Duranzo has played well to get them to this point. So yeah, it's this kind of. Yeah, I won't say they mirror each other, but but their situations are very similar.
The Arrowhead defense hadn't given up a touchdown pretty much, certainly during the regular season. Hudson did score on them in the first half, but in the first half they've been almost unstoppable. I think they've given up like 13 points all season in the first half. And this is a defense that has Matt Seitz, a linebacker who's going to play college football. Sam Buckner, who's a linebacker, he's going to play at Iowa State. Charlie Reutemann has 4 interceptions in the playoffs, I believe, or at least in the last several games. So this is a secondary or a defense that has just playmakers at every level from the line to the secondary, and they're going to be very difficult to move the ball against. What we're going to see with that Franklin offense against the Arrowhead defense is just going to be an absolute clash of titans, and I have to wonder if maybe the other side is where this game is going to get won, the Arrowhead offense against the Franklin defense. Which unit is really going to be that unit, the third best unit in this game, considering the other two could basically have a stalemate. And I think we've talked about this before. If it's a defensive battle, you have to like Arrowhead's chances. You have to figure with what they've done on offense that they can score enough to win the state championship.
Yeah, and it will be interesting with Franklin, and we kind of saw last week with Hudson. Okay, Hudson scores early, but I mean, football's the games. You got to play 48 minutes.
Right. Can
you sustain it? And a lot of times, what happens, what both these teams have done is, they wear on you. I mean, like I say, a lot of times you touched on it with Franklin. People think about Sean McGuire, their quarterback, and all the the points they score, and you can kind of forget that this is a physical team that really prides itself on really stuffing the run and being physical. Yeah. And obviously that's what Arrowhead kind of hangs its hat on this year in terms of it being more of a defensive team than maybe as last year it was more of an offensive team with some of the stuff they were doing.
One wild card, Tommy Kirsch, a good offensive lineman for Arrowhead, great offensive lineman. He's been a key part of their line all year. He got hurt in the Hudson game, probably won't play in the state championship, so they're going to have to mix and match a little bit on the line. Still one of the better offensive lines in the area, but we'll see how that comes into play against that Franklin front.
Yeah, and we'll talk about what happened at state finals last week, but that's going to wrap it up for this on the road edition to Preps Plus Extra. We'll see you next week. For more Preps Plus action, be sure to watch me and Lance Allen every Sunday night on TMJ4.